Hello, good afternoon. This is the Pyramid Show here live on Joy News Television. Now, following Ghana's independence, urbanization and rapid population growth has contributed to the increased demand for housing. Currently, there is a staggering 2 million housing deficit as reported by Locus Estate. Many past governments, in attempt to address this challenge, implemented housing schemes such as the Accelerated Housing Scheme during 1960. Affordable Housing Program in 1980, and in 1991, the National Housing Policy. State institutions like Gold Coast Housing Corporation, now State Housing Company, Tema Development Corporation, and SNET have executed most of these projects with the sole purpose of helping government achieve its housing goals, mostly importantly for the lower and middle income bracket earners. Today, with a lot of homeless people on the streets of its major cities, with many uncompleted houses dotted around and the numerous unoccupied furnished buildings sitting waste, we ask, has the various government helped in the provision of houses for the citizenry? Are these houses built by government indeed affordable, as said, and upon completion, are they made available to those who really need them? This and more will bring you on today's discussion. Again, I'm also telling you that if you're looking for an affordable house, be it a 2, 3, 4 bedroom house, then look no further than Lakeside Community 8. This is a thriving community for the reason that we have within it 3 recreational parks where you get to have the leisure hours and time with your family and beloved loved ones. Also, we have a high-speed MTN internet connectivity, 24 security surveillance, and it's actually a gated community. So call us on this number 050-127-9284, 050-127-9284, or send us an email viglo@silverstartowers.com. That is viglo@silverstartowers.com. For further inquiries, visit our website www.silverstartowers.com. Now, my question for you before I take a break, I'm asking, with what the government has been saying as it being on the project, building affordable houses, do you see that to be true? And what has been your experience? Let me know. Share this with me on 0500 180 697, 0500 180 697. This program is brought to you by the kind sponsorship of Zypers Waterproofing Concrete Product and Republic Bank. We take a break. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. So our topic today is has government's attempt at building affordable housing failed? And joining us from Kumasi, we have architect Dr. Joe J. Danquah. He is the senior research scientist, Building and Road Research Institute in Kumasi. Doc, thank you for making time to be part of the show today. I mean, in the past weeks, we began the journey, the discussion on affordable housing. I would want us to give us in just 1 minute, just a brief on what affordable housing is.
Yeah, thank you, Yipma, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners. Yes, affordable housing, of course. People talk about affordable housing, but what actually is a house? And how do we tell that a house is affordable? Mm-hmm. Okay. So to ask the question about has Ghana's affordable housing achieved much, or has it been a failure by previous governments or various governments, then we need to understand what a house is and then what is affordable. In that sense, we will to appreciate and judge by ourselves whether what the various governments have been providing is actually what is termed as affordable housing, and to whom or for whom, as we call it. Okay. So yes, if we're talking about the housing in itself, okay, is a habitation or a living quarters, okay, that are supposed to provide 3 key things, okay, safety, decency, and health, okay. So anything that you are in, any shelter beyond the 4 walls, is that protection? Is that actually giving you safety? Is the house that you are in actually decent? And is the house that you are living in enhancing your living condition in terms of sanitary and health and well-being? If the answer to any of this is no, then you are short of having a house in itself. You may be living in a shelter, but it is not a house, okay, according to the United Nations definition in itself. So you should be able to provide for all these things: safety, decency, and then health-wise, in that sense. So yes, we know that house is a basic need for everyone. In fact, if you are looking at the 4 basic things that every human being needs in terms of food, air, water, and then shelter.
Okay.
So this is one of the basic things, and for which we say that house is a right. And that is why everybody is supposed to live in a decent house. Now,
Doctor, you just said house is a right. Now, I want to ask this question. Whose responsibility is it? Is it that of the government or the individual to, provide houses? Whose sole responsibility is it?
It depends on the context, but I would say that it's for both. Whichever place that you are living, be it in a government setup, okay, or in a democracy like ours, or in a country, you may be presiding in your own community. There you are not expecting the government to provide shelter for you, okay? But in a country like ours, or in civilized societies, whereby our responsibility is to pay taxes, okay, then government is also supposed to provide an enabling environment for us in order to improve our living conditions. In that sense, then we are having a cohesive society, and that is what every government strives to do. So I would say that, yes, the responsibility lies both on us and then the government. So the government takes part, and then you, the citizen or the individual, also takes part.
Okay, great. Doc, we would be asking about the huge deficit that we are currently facing as a country, almost that's 2 million. And what has been the major cause for this?
Well, if you are talking about a housing deficit, I think over the years, it has continued to increase, okay, and it has built up to this point, and for which now, I don't know when we are going to actually be able to solve this, because annually we are looking at, if we want to bridge the gap, then we are looking at producing over 300,000 to 400,000 units every year, okay, and for which we are not able to even provide a tenth of that, okay. So it will involve having a very proactive and innovative way of solving the housing deficit, in order to make sure that, yes, its citizens, in terms of Ghanaian citizens, are having the right to a decent living. And that is the point. So if we are having a housing deficit that is over 2.2 million units, then it tells you that over 6 million of the population don't have decent house to live in. This is the actual truth. So that is it. So out of the 33 million population that we have, over 6 million are lacking a decent house to live in.
Okay, so Doc, I would want to know, what is the contribution of housing units by government? You mentioned that as a country, we are not able to meet 1/10 of our expected housing units.
Okay, so for example, if I'm using Ghana as an example, that and for which we are talking about affordable housing, it is said that it's not everybody who will be able to build or put up a house in any society. No society will you have 100% of its citizens able to afford to put up a house or a decent living. And that is why there are always these kinds of social provisions and social brackets that comes in terms of interventions, okay, and subsidies for which government uses in order to enhance and assist its citizens in order to provide for these kinds of housing, be it the low-cost housing, be it the social housing, or be it affordable housing. So there are differences if you are talking about affordable housing and then social housing. In fact, social housing is for the low cost, for the very low income people, and sometimes they cannot even afford in terms of even rent. This is what we call the social housing. And this one relies solely on government, okay? Majority of this intervention is by government. But if you are talking about affordable housing, then this is where the government, in partnership with the private sector, will actually assist and push for these kinds of affordable housing for the middle income and then lower middle income and then the upper levels. of course. So you see that in Ghana here, what we are doing is providing affordable housing, but most of the times we see government using both, interpreting it in both ways. If he's talking about affordable housing, he's actually talking about both affordable housing and then social housing. So you see that most of the policies, right from the colonial era up to now, you see the mix of the two, both affordable housing, local housing, and it interchanges depending on the kind of the government era that comes into place. So yes, government has consistently been providing a certain form of affordable housing, and for which we will be able to know whether it has been sufficient or not up to now.
So if you just join us, this is the Pyramid Show live here on Joy News Television. I would want to know from you, with the prices you see, what are you seeing, whether it's affordable or it's not affordable? Most people are of the view that buildings and properties here in Ghana especially are very expensive. I would want to know what you have to also say about that. And again, I'm asking this question: do you believe the government, in its attempt to provide affordable housing, has succeeded or not? So let me hear from you via 0500 180 697, 0500 180 697. You can do so via WhatsApp or SMS. So, Doc, you were on this, you were trying to tell us about, explaining affordability and social housing. But most importantly, I would want to know, what is the current contribution of houses by government annually? I would want to know.
Annually,
at least on the average.
Okay. On the average, if you are talking about government or we talk about private sector or what we call...
I'm looking at government before we do the two of them, the private and government.
Okay, for government, it has been inconsistent because there is no data that shows that averagely, annually, government is providing these forms of housing. Okay, the ones that you see are the national programs, for example, the one that was recently launched and for which is not going to be produced, for example, in a year or two. It is only when it has been done that we will know definitely that for this span of years, government has been able to, or this party has been able to provide, for example, maybe 500 units of affordable housing. You know, the era of Kufuor and how long it took for it to be completed. So in terms of government per se, you will not be able to pinpoint and say that government has actually provided this number of houses consistently over the years. Okay, but when we talk about the formal sector, then that is when then we lump in the government and then the private sector. Where we are talking about the private sector, we are talking about the real estates. Okay, so here we are talking about property owners in terms of the real estate firms and construction firms that actually put up this real estate house. Okay, so annually they are providing around 5,000. Okay, 5,000, 5,200 annually.
That's the private developers.
Yes, for the private developers annually. Okay, towards the housing stock. Okay, and if we are talking in terms of about 300,000 annually, then you look at what is happening. Okay, now ironically, you see that though government has taken itself to have the burden of providing some form of affordable housing, individuals, you and I, okay, contribute over 30,000 housing units every year. That is what the private citizens, you and I, individuals, on themselves, okay, whilst they use their hard-earned income, little by little, and developing, they are actually providing 30,000, over 30,000 housing units every year. Okay, so if we want actually to really focus on affordable housing, then we should be critically looking at this area, because then that is where we may be able to innovatively have a cure for us when you talk about affordable housing.
So, Doc, to what you just said, you mentioned individuals, contributing to about 300,000 housing units and also applauding the private developers. My question is this. We've seen a number of housing schemes, since the Independence Day. It started with the Accelerated Housing Scheme in 1960 to National Housing Authority in 1970, on to People's Housing Program, Affordable Housing Program in 1980, and National Housing Policy, even to the former president, His Excellency John Ajay Kufuor, with an initiative called the Affordable Housing, which We saw some taking place in Asokore Mampong. So with all these schemes and policies that have been implemented by past government, why is the government still failing? It looks like the government is lacking behind when you compare the government to what the citizenry is doing and the private developer is doing.
Yeah, if we can go back to the Nkrumah era, okay, or let's say from the Gold Coast, where we have the Gold Coast Housing Corporation, actually, okay, that is where then there was some form of housing, okay, provision for, in fact, for the colonial settlers in terms of their working population and the expatriates, okay. That was when then the Gold Coast Housing Corporation started, and for which actually the officers there actually had to, okay, take a second look at the housing situation in the country, okay, when there was an outbreak, especially in Kumasi, okay, and during the earthquake, okay, in Accra. That was when actually government started, the colonial officers started having this kind of interaction to know exactly what kind of housing policy that would be for the good of this country. That was when the Jamestown, etc., were established in Accra, okay. And then you see that when Nkrumah took over by the reins, okay, if you look at Nkrumah's concept and you look at the socialist side that he was coming from, okay, so you see that in the kind of housing production that actually took place, okay, so you see that it was state-led, okay, and that is why we had the State Housing Company or Corporation that started, and actually later on it became the State Housing Company Limited, okay, and then later on we had the SNET that also came into place. Now, closely from Nkrumah's era, then you see that if we are looking at one person that actually also did very well, then we are looking at Kutu Achampong. He was the one who actually started the low-cost housing. Okay.
In other words, affordable housing.
Yes. Okay. It was a low-cost housing. The affordable housing was there, but this was properly targeted for the low income. Okay. So the low income levels, this was a low-cost housing that Kutu Achampong started. And actually, if you are looking at Dansuman, if we know the history of Dansuman Estate, okay, it is one of the biggest estates in West Africa. This was started by Kutu Achampong, you know, in his era, all right? And then Liman came and then completed, okay, continued. And so it is assumed that, yes, of course, it was SNET that spearheaded it, but it was assumed that, yes, Liman was the one who spearheaded. No, it started from Kutu Achampong, okay? And unfortunately, he was overthrown from that point, you know. So you could see that those times you see state-led activity or action when it came to provision of housing, okay, because the state saw it as a need, and for which once the state or the citizens are living very well and living healthy, then actually they will be able to develop the nation, you know, in that way. And so that was the point and the perspective that these governments were coming from. And of course, unfortunately, after that and a series of overthrows, that is when then the Rawlings regime took place, the PNDC era. Of course, that was when then SNET also assumed position and started having all these kinds of housing throughout the country. Okay, so if you see SNET flats and estates, Ashorman Estate, Dansuman, Sakumono, Adenta, Esueyeboa in Kumasi, etc., you see many of these things that were started by State Housing Corporation and then the SNET. In fact, if you talk about Kumasi, it was during this era that you have a lot of these estates being established in Kumasi. And it is said, statistics says that 20% of all the housing that you see in Kumasi were government owned. Okay, by the year 1990 up to the 2000s, 20% of all the housing units that you see in Kumasi were government produced, you know, in that way. So in Kumasi, you see a lot of estates, okay, Patase, Atonsu, Chapatre, name it. Okay, Bopro, Pankrono, you see all these estates, but these were strategically located such that it's supposed to feed into the working population, and it was closer to their workplace. Okay, this is one of the very criteria that you use when you want to establish an affordable house, because it should be close, okay, to where the people are working or the recipients. So you see that over the years, then the liberalization came into place, okay, around the 1987,
Okay, so this is Joy News. The program is the Pyramid Show, your #1 tele-construction show. we take a break. The show returns shortly. Welcome back. Doc, so you were discussing with us the many estates that have been constructed in time past, especially you mentioned Kumasi and the development of Jamestown. Please take it from there. Hello, Doc. Okay. Hello, Doc. Hello, Doc.
Yeah, hello?
Yes. So you were explaining to us the importance, or let's say the advantages of these policies contributing to the development within Kumasi. You spoke about Trapatrea in Science State, mentioning Jamestown and other cities across the country. Please take it from there.
Yeah, so as I was saying, so you will see that these state agencies, if you look at State Housing Corporation or company, and you have a TEMA, okay, Development Corporation, that actually was also established by Nkrumah when he established TEMA as a community, a housing community that was supposed to serve, okay, the harbor, the opening of the harbor. And that was actually, if you look at the community of TEMA, then you will see how well laid and how planned, okay, the TEMA community was in terms of affordable housing, okay. That is what we are talking about, all right. So even TEMA Development Corporation has produced over the years over 10,000. Okay, SNIT also has also produced over 7,400 housing units. Okay, now they are no more into it. I don't know whether they will still come back into it. All right, in that sense. And then the State Housing Company Limited now is providing not affordable housing. I would term it. It's not affordable housing, but they are providing for the middle income because they are also into the market. So they are following in the steps of the real estate agents in that sense. So now the onus lies on government, okay, to continue with that kind of a social and affordable housing schemes, and for which various attempts have been made, and we continue to review. Each and every succeeding government comes and they are reviewing these kinds of programs in order to make it affordable. Okay. But we will see whether it becomes affordable. So,
Doc, we'll be coming to the reviewed schemes, but before we move on, let me ask you this question. You mentioned TDC, TEMA Development Corporation. You've spoken about State Housing Company, and also mentioned SNIT. These are key stakeholders who have contributed to, you know, the construction of houses. In other words, you can say affordable houses. But my question now is, in recent times, current times, are they vibrant? Are they resourced enough? Why is it that we are seeing a decline when it comes to housing provision by the government?
Yeah, and just as I was saying, that all these corporations were being operated by the government. So it was state-sponsored, okay? SNIT in itself belongs to government, okay? Though it's workers' contribution, but it still belongs to government. Government has a huge stake in that, all right? When it comes to TEMA Development Corporation, it's still government that is operating it. When it comes to State Housing Company, it's still government that is operating it. But when the liberalization came into place, that was when we westernized, okay, the housing escape, okay, landscape that we call it, okay. So that is when then we said, okay, fine, government should win itself from the provision of housing and then make the assistance so that it will be private-led. And in fact, that was the reason why GRADA was established, okay, to spearhead this kind of mandate, all right. But as we will say that most of the times we are quick in initiating programs, but when it comes to its operationalization, then that is when then we continue to now falter. So that is one of the things that have actually become a challenge for GRADA, because if you are instructing GRADA to build affordable housing, who is going to subsidize? Is the government going to subsidize the cost of construction and labor, or the input that this real estate people or the private person is putting in order to produce the house that we will call affordable? Okay, so it becomes that what is the policy that you have given to us as GRADA in order to provide these kinds of affordable housing, in terms of, do we have tax breaks? Do we have subsidies? Do we have some form of interventions or in terms of lower interest rates. Mind you, when this, before the liberalization, there was the Bank for Housing and Construction. That was actually giving us cheaper loans, okay, for construction. But then this went off, and that was when the Home Finance Company also came into place. Okay, so you see that all the state-led agencies and corporations that were actually becoming agencies in terms of spearheading the housing production now had to lay back, fold up, and then make it into privatization. So that is where the key is, and that is where we have faltered, and we have not been able to catch up from that point.
Okay, now, Doc, my next question to you, a very interesting one. It's been a successful one, talking about the number of houses that have been built across the country. You made an example, Kumasi, you mentioned Jamestown. Then I'm asking myself, for what reason would these policies or schemes be terminated? And this is why. We are seeing projects like affordable housing, which started under President John Kufuor, the former president, and got completed in the year 2020. And currently, we are seeing Saglemi being wasted away. Even recently, the Honorable Minister Sam George saying that there have been issues of theft, and this is serious amount of money, and yet nothing is being done. What has been causing these delays, and why government affordable programs are stalled most often?
Yeah, thank you. I think this has got a multifaceted phases, okay? Because one, political interventions, undue political interventions, they are too much, okay? So you see that every successive government will want to introduce a new program, okay, for which it can claim credit for, okay? And this undue politicization has actually made it worse, okay? Because mind you, the housing deficit is not waiting for you to finish and then continue. In fact, that is what I said, that annually we are supposed to provide not less than 300,000 units if we are to meet, okay, the kind of bridge the gap in terms of take away this kind of deficit from that point. Okay, so you see that the undue politicization actually does not augur well for affordable housing. Okay, yes, the state can take a lead, but how can it make it more transparent such that successive governments will be able to complete or continue? If you have a transparent policy, there is no way that any government will take it away. But when there is undue politicization, that is when the successive government comes, maximum 8 years, 4 years, 8 years, there's a change of government. Now, when the new government comes, then he starts, okay, trying to build an audit to find out whether there was value for money, you know, and we have seen it all over every year, every 4 years, every 8 years, we see it, okay, that we are having value for money. We are having audit to investigate to see whether actually some monies have gone somewhere, okay? And yet this building deteriorates to the point that by the time they finish the investigation, then it is just a waste of the public purse from that point, you know. So why, if there was actual need and there was agency in that, then why would it take you so much long time for you to do investigation and actually at the end of the day decide to dispose of it at a huge cost to government, okay, in that sense? So it meant that, yes, one of the reasons why they were giving, for example, for Saglemi, was that, yes, the actual cost, unit cost, by the time they finish, it's not going to be affordable. So then you ask yourself, was due diligence done? That is a bigger question. So it means there was no due diligence, all right? So a housing that is supposed to provide over 5,000, now by the time they would have finished, was providing just less than 2,000. Okay, so then you see the unit cost of that house become so prohibitive that you are going to have the middle and then the upper class having those kinds of units. Then it defeats the purpose of affordable housing. Kufuor's era, the affordable housing was very ambitious, very good, okay, had a lot of land banks, okay, that he acquired for these kinds of things. But I think one of the major challenges from Kufuor's era was procurement, which actually, okay, became a hurdle in terms of centralization of the procurement process. So you have all these housing projects going on, and then you have one central place that they were doing procurement. This actually provided a lot of bottlenecks and bureaucracy, and that led to also a bit of corruption that came away. okay, and that actually halted the project along the way. So you will see that in each of these, as I keep on saying, that undue politicization actually does not make the process transparent in order to make it very viable for the citizens to follow and to use. And that is why there's always the excuse when the successive government comes in order to just put it down, halt it, and then continue his own, for which he thinks that for this I will have the credit for.
Okay, so let me hear from you. I want to know, is the government really achieving the goal when it says it's providing affordable houses? And I would want to know, with the housing prices you see, do you consider them affordable? Doc, coming back to you, my question is this. You explained to us what an affordable house is. In practical terms, if we go out there to buy a house, be it 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, what are the prices we should be considering as affordable? I mean, we need to.
If we are looking at affordable, okay, and the simple term is that 1/3, okay, of your income is supposed to go into housing, all right? So if we are looking at, for example, the average income earner for Accra, okay, is around, I think, 5,200. So let's say 6,000. Okay, that's the average household income for somebody living in Accra. So you look at it in terms of the middle and then the lower middle income earner in that category. Mind you, the living wage, the minimum wage for us is 14 cedis, 88 pesos. That's the minimum wage. So if you are paying the person that 14 cedis, 88 pesos, let's round it up to 15 cedis. And this person is working up for 6 days in a week. And it means every week he's been paid 90 cedis. Is that not it?
Yes.
Okay. So, yes. So in a month, this person is receiving less than 400 cedis. And we are saying that in that 400 cedis, 1/3 of it should be able to go into a housing, okay? Be it rent or be it production of a house in that sense, whether he's investing into that. So you can imagine, when we talk about the low-income people, these are the brackets. When we talk about the poor, we are talking about those that are living below the income level, the minimum wage. And that is huge, you know. Those are the ones that actually need, okay, the social housing. Those that are living in slums, you call it, okay? But we don't even have a slum upgrading system or policies in place. But if you are looking at the typical, which we'll call affordable housing for low income, somebody who is actually receiving less than 1,000 cedis in a month, okay, to maybe 3,000 cedis in a month, then you are telling us that this person should not be renting a house that is more than 400 cedis, okay? But you can guess, your guess is as good as mine, that where are you going to find these kinds of accommodation and rent if you are talking
Doc,
about
on the average, on the average for the middle income earner, the lower income earner, what is the affordable price for a building for them? At least a range on the average.
So a range, if you are looking at
2-bedroom,
affordable
3-bedroom.
housing, yes, a 1-bedroom house should not cost you more than 120,000.
120,000.
Okay, yes, that's a decent 1-bedroom house. Okay, that's around 50 square meters. Okay, should not cost you more than 120,000 Ghana cedis.
That's right? A 1-bedroom.
So that
house.
Is around. That's around.
What about the 2-bedroom house considered to be affordable?
A 2-bedroom house. Yeah, a 2-bedroom house should not go above 150,000. Okay?
150,000.
If you are looking at real affordability.
Okay, yes. And finally, a 3-bedroom house.
A 3-bedroom house, then you are looking at around 220,000, okay, to 250,000. That's a 3-bedroom house. You know,
well, that's interesting. Before coming into the studio, I gathered some figures myself. I wouldn't be naming the companies, but we have prices going for, that is $13,800. We are also seeing for a 1-bedroom, close to $20,700, and this is certainly interesting. We take a break. When we come back, we look at it tomorrow. Thank you for staying with us. Audrey is here with all that you've been saying. Well, Audrey, I don't know if you've ever tried buying a house for yourself.
I have, but the prices were so outrageous. It was beyond budget. So we save up to secure that we do it. So you can join our interactivity by sending in messages. It is 0500-180-697. You can also engage us on our socials. X @the_pyramid_show. Facebook 360mediagh.net. And then you can watch us on MyJoy online. So then we are asking, has government's attempts to build an affordable housing succeeded or failed? Join our interactivity. Keep sending your messages. Please add your names and places of residence so we can address you properly. So then, Honorable N.K. Aban from Jukwa Breman, whereas we admit that the NPP government has done very well in expanding public infrastructure and their desire to initiate more affordable housing, I still appeal to government to ensure timely completion of both President Kufuor's and Mahama's affordable housing scheme. Good afternoon. I think the two political parties play politics with this housing problem. When they are in government, if they really mean to solve the problem, then they should build for people to rent at affordable rates so that the very needy people can get a place to lay their heads. Coming from Joseph from Achimota ABC. Good afternoon. Please, I like the program very much. Thank you. Please, I'm into construction. But in Ghana, there's been no affordable housing from 1990 to 2023. Al Hassan from Nyankumasi and Hinkro. Thanks for the education every Sunday. The affordable housing project by governments over the years isn't affordable to workers like teachers and to other government workers. Not to even talk about most people working for private companies. I would want you to discuss more on how to build houses affordably by individuals, since it is the leading solution to housing defect. Good afternoon, Emmanuel. Today I really enjoy the show. Thank you. I'll say God bless you and your crew for the good work you do for our motherland, Ghana. Mesdames, Moise. My name is Daniel Kadi from Kumasi. Please, I want to know if my pension can be used for a mortgage for 3-bedroom houses at Accra. So you can still send in your messages on WhatsApp or SMS number 0500-180-697. That will be all for the interactive.
Well, Audrey, I was surprised you were saying you were, the figures you saw, the prices you saw for the building, just didn't encourage you to go on to buy, because I know you to be the person that's always capable of buying anything. What happened?
We work with budget. It exceeded my budget.
No, just accept that you just don't have enough. It's not about working with budget.
I have enough. I wanted a luxurious apartment. I wanted a luxurious mansion.
I can
and currently, the funds I have, I can't afford it. So till I save up to...
Okay, thank you very much, Audrey Dushikafi, with the interactive segment. If you just joined, this is the Pyramid Show here live on Joy News Television. Our discussion today, we are looking at how the government's attempt at building affordable house failed, yea or nay. My guest is Dr. Do Ej Danquah. Hello, Doc.
Yes, hello.
Yes, Doc. If you want to attend to any of the messages that came in, address any of them, please do so.
Yeah, I think we said the public is the best judges. Okay, so in fact, if you look at the comments that they are making, actually they are saying that, well, what is being termed as affordable is not actually affordable. Okay, and undue politicization has also been said. All right, there was one that was talking about why don't we concentrate on making sure that the individuals actually who are contributing much, okay, should be helped in order to build their own affordable houses than for the state to be the one that is championing affordable housing. And that is a very good idea. For me, I always say that we should look at where the problem is, and that is where we should focus, all right, in that sense. Because, mind you, 80% of households, okay, in urban areas are living in 1 to 3 bedroom houses.
Okay.
Okay, and that is interesting. 80% of Ghanaian households are living in 1 to 3 bedroom houses. Okay, this is where we are. But 9 million of us are living in slums. And this is very scary. 9 million of us, okay, are living in slums. Okay, out of the 33 million population that we have. Okay, and your Ghana statistics will tell you the recently held population and housing census 2021. 20% of all the housing stock that we have are uncompleted. 20% of the housing stock that we have now, okay, currently in this nation, 20%. It means that 1 in 5 house, if you are working, every 1 in 5 house that you count, the 5th one is uncompleted.
Okay.
And that tells you something, okay,
now,
that
Doc,
yes, we need to focus in these areas.
Yes, certainly we have to. Doc, earlier on from the beginning, you mentioned interventions from the government. And currently we have, that is the National Rental Assistance Scheme, and we also have the National Mortgage Scheme and National Housing Fund, which is supposed to help individuals to, construct or build their house. What is the reality on the ground?
Yeah, let's take it one by one. If you're talking about a rental scheme,
yeah,
okay, the National Rental Assistance Scheme, okay, for that one, not much has been heard apart from its launch. But when you investigate, they will tell you that it's there and people are benefiting, okay? But if it's supposed to be for the benefit, okay, for the low income and for the targeted people, how come that they are not hearing it? How come that they are not hearing it? Perhaps the available funds there is not enough for them to trumpet and to advertise. Otherwise, then this has to be advertised, because it is a very good scheme if it's supposed to be done and be done well. Okay? Yes. And the structure should be there. The system should be there in order to check and balance with what we call the checks and balances. If they are not there, then the money will be there, but then it will end up in somebody's pocket. And that has been one of our critical areas, okay, in terms of challenges. That yes, the thing will be launched as innovative as it is, but when it comes to the implementation, that is when then the key challenges are. So okay, yes, the National Rental Scheme is there, but there should be more in terms of education and what it takes for a person to qualify for that, okay? If you are to do a saving, you will hear that many people will say that they've not even heard of that in that group.
That's very true. With what you are saying, many people not hearing that. We will be talking about it the reasons to why the government has not trumpeted it the more for the masses to also get to know about it. After the break, when we return, we shall be discussing also when these projects are completed, are they available to the right group of people who really, really need them? We take a break, the show returns shortly. Welcome back. Water causes a lot of problems on buildings, leading to its deterioration if not checked, through defects such as rising damp, leakages in wall, and concrete roofs cracks, construction joints, and rain traces on the building. Let me introduce you to Zyper's concrete products used permanently to waterproof, protect, and repair buildings, tunnels, reservoirs, bridges, and even dams. Zypers can be used to waterproof buildings in extreme conditions like waterlogged or high water table areas with no damping occurring. The unique Zypers waterproofing technology, when applied on foundations, basements, septic tanks, swimming pools, balconies, and underground or surface water storage tanks, give a solid guarantee against water. So call us on this number 0302-681581, 0302-681581, or 0208-110328, 0208-110328. Finally, 0243-426171, 0243-426171. We're also located at Adabraka, the Farisco Junction. Now take your home ownership plan a notch higher the Republic Bank way. As pay setters in the mortgage business, we offer you faster processing time, ultra low interest rate, and you can choose from a long list of our partner developers. Whether it's home purchase, home equity, home completion, or home improvement, we have your back. So talk to our mortgage specialist today. Call or WhatsApp us on this number 0540-109649, 0540-109649, or 0540-109901, 0540-109901. Now remember to follow us on all our social media handles. That is at Republic Bank Ghana on all our social media handles. Republic Bank, we are the ones for you. Doc, hello, Doc.
Yes, hello.
Okay, before Doc, I engage you, let me announce that at this moment, you can also call and be part of the discussion here ongoing in the studio. Doc, about, I asked you why the government has not really trumpeted all these intervention schemes that we mentioned so that, the citizenry can go and for assistance. What has been the reason?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's a lack of communication or something else. It's sometimes it baffles us, okay, that you intend to deliver affordable housing. The housing has been produced. How then do you disseminate it or distribute or give it to the recipients? Okay. When it comes to affordable housing, and if it's not approached holistically, then that is where there's a lot of challenges and bottlenecks that comes in its wake. Because the housing itself is subsidized, it becomes a contest for many to also get their hands on it, especially those above, okay, the income bracket to which this affordable housing is supposed to be for. So once they see that, no, this house now becomes cheaper because government has subsidized, definitely there's going to be that kind of a contestation on it and a competition to know who actually gets what. So if there is no conscious effort in order to know right from the start the recipients, okay, engaging the local unions or the workers' unions in terms of TUC and NAT,
so,
etc.
Doc, please hold on for me as I go to Daniel from Ofanko. Hello, Daniel.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Daniel.
I like this program very much.
Thank you very much.
I am a Mason. My father was a construction in, those times, Chroma time.
Okay.
So I like this program very much. I'm interested about that.
Thank you very much for that.
When we talk about the affordable house, from 90s coming, there is no affordable house in Ghana again. Because look at the way they build that house. We individuals, we can't buy it. It's very expensive.
Okay.
Because I'm a Mason. I know how they build the affordable house in
Okay.
Those ones they build the Bitema.
So, Daniel, thank you very much. For the lack of time, I think your submission has been made. Thank you very much, Daniel. You can also call to be part of the discussion. So, Doc, for the lack of time, let me ask you this question. When these projects are done, when these said affordable houses are built, and it comes to being allocated to the rightful people who need them, typically the lower and middle income earners, what has been, the situation on the ground? I would want you to share with me. Are they given to the people who need it? But before you do that, let me go to Elmina. Hello, George.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, George. Please be brief about your submission.
Yeah, we are talking about affordable housing. What do you mean by affordable housing? Because we are working and we cannot afford to provide things for ourselves. And we are talking about affordable housing. Affordable housing, can middle income person be able to take it or don't? Because our salary cannot even reach it. You understand?
Yes.
So let's say.
Okay, Daniel, I think. Please be brief about your submission.
Yeah,
very brief, 30 seconds.
That's my estate, for instance. These architects, they were able to purchase affordable housing during those times. Now, how can we also be able to afford? Because our salaries
are poor. Are poor. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, Doc, so to this important question, when these projects are done, do they go to the people who really need them or otherwise?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I just don't want to guess it.
Definitely, it's never going to be. I mean, you have a small proportion going into the genuine ones that actually need, but the rest are taken over, by the forces that you yourself can guess.
So even with the scanty provision, it's not going to the rightful people, the people that need them.
Absolutely.
We hear stories of, you know, the big men buying them and in the end renting it out to these people that need them. What can be done to check this so that at the end of these completion of these affordable housing projects by government, it's clearly made sure that it gets to the people that need them? In 30 seconds.
Yes, I think that the government should be able to sit down with the workers' union, okay, because that is what he says, that is going for the working populace. So we should sit down with the workers' union and the public civil servants in order to know definitely how this distribution is going to be. Now,
definitely the government is going to sit down with the workers' union so that he will be able to address the concern of, you know, people not having these projects whilst they need them, whilst it goes to the wrong people. This is the Pyramid Show. My guest today, Dr. Architect Joe Ejay Danquah. He's a senior research scientist from the CSIR Building and Road Research Institute in Kumasi. It's been a great time. It's been a wonderful discussion. Thank you very much to you, the viewer. We'll be coming your way same time next week. Have a fruitful week.